everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to the floor of my library. As you can see, I acquired some new books. So not this past weekend, but the one prior to that, I went to a book sale, which was a lot bigger than I was expecting it to be, and I acquired some books. So this is going to be a few subscription box openings and then just very briefly going through the books that I got, because let's be real, I can't give you full synopsises of all of these because that would be an eternity. So I'm going to, I guess, get into uppercase for, oh god, I already dropped books. I'm going to get into my uppercase because this just got here yesterday, and first of all, I like their new packaging. I like that they did a new bag. I think this is my favorite one. So I'm gonna open this. I have book of the month because I signed up for that. Help me. So we're gonna get into this really fast and let's see what is in here. I think I already know what the book is. Yes. So, okay, we get our codes for the behind the scenes content. And the book is Save the Date by Morgan Matson, and this has a little sticker on it that says signed first edition, so that's exciting. So it is in fact signed. And then it came with stickers that go with the book, and I wasn't that intrigued until I saw the fact that there is a koala on here. Now I'm very intrigued by this book. And the little letter. This is the book only option in case you guys were curious. I'm pretty excited to get this. I'm a fan of Morgan Matson, especially right now in the summertime. I am still on a contemporary kick, and Morgan Matson, in my mind, writes the best summer reads. Like, her books are kind of longer for contemporaries, and they have like more friendship and family influence than just romance. I'm not a huge fan of wedding stories, but I mean, it's Morgan Matson, so I'm gonna read it. Also, there's a dog there, and flipping it over, there's a dog. That is a large author photo with her dog, which I appreciate. Moving to the bottom of the stack, I don't know why I put this on the bottom. This is a bad idea. Oh god. Okay. We're gonna try and make it through this without knocking everything over. But I decided to try Book of the Month. Why? Because I'm dumb. I do not need more books, but I always see people getting Book of the Month and I never really looked into it just because I know that the second I do, I'm gonna subscribe to it. And guess what? That's what happened. So this is my first time at trying Book of the Month, and they had like a coupon offer and like a first time subscriber deal. So I basically took advantage of that. There was like a code for a free book and stuff and things. I don't remember what all of it was, but I was very excited to get this. I obviously have already opened this because this came like a week ago. So the first thing that is in there is obviously the book. Spoiler, that's the book that I chose, but I like the read, love, repeat. I like that this is just a very simple option for the month, and I like that they come with a bookmark with like a little quote on the back for each month. But I mainly got this because I really wanted to read The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang, and this was just an easy way for me to get it for cheap because I think I ended up paying $10 for this box because of whatever coupon codes that I used and applied, and I was a new subscriber to try stuff. So this, I was very intrigued. This reminds me somewhat of the Rosie Project, but from what I've heard, it's adorable, it's really good. This is about a girl who I believe is on the spectrum. I think she has Asperger's, and she hires an escort to kind of show her how to romance. So I've heard nothing but amazing things about this, so I was very excited to get this. This is pretty much why I got the box, but they also have the option where you can add more books from like their previous months into your box for fairly cheap. So I did that. I ended up adding The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid because have you been living under a rock? Everyone's reading this right now, and I've been hearing amazing things about it. It's got some good representation of diverse characters, and we're in Pride Month, so that sounds great. So this was still an option to add to your box, so I did that. And I added Little and Lion also, and this is by Brandy Colbert because this is another book that I've heard nothing but amazing things about, and I've been super intrigued. I believe this is about a girl and her stepbrother, I think, and her stepbrother has bipolar disorder. And I've heard it's a very good representation of everything, and it's very heart-wrenching and real, and it's such a good read. So I have been wanting to read this for a while, and it was an option to add to the box for like my free book, so I did that. So there are 3 more books that I did not need in my life, but I really did need in my life. So okay, before I get into all of the book sale books that are just sitting beside me. I also had my birthday last week, which was very exciting, so I feel like I should give a very public shout out to my fiance. Thank you so much, Randy, because he got me these. These are not a book, but this will allow me to read more books. In case you guys missed it, my goats, I have baby goats, they keep eating my headphones. As in, like, I go out to like clean the barn or work with my horse or do things just in the vicinity of my little goats, and they see a cord and they eat it immediately. So I've gone through many a headphone over the past year, and I really didn't want to spend the money to get AirPods, but he decided to do that for my birthday, so I am forever grateful. These are the coolest things ever. Are they overpriced? Yes, it's Apple, come on. But this is like changing my reading game. Like, I can just leave my phone somewhere in the house and just walk around, no strings attached, pun intended, and this is the coolest thing ever. I'm a huge audiobook fan, obviously, so this is just changing the game for me. And my mom was amazing and got me the special 10th anniversary edition of The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, which is beautiful because, first of all, it's got red sprayed pages and it just has illustrations through the whole thing, and the illustrations are like beautiful and they are exactly how I picture a lot of the scenes, just like, they're so good. So I think this calls for a reread of these books because God knows the third one won't ever come out. Come on, Rothfuss. But I think I'm going to reread these probably in the fall, but now I have a beautiful edition because my edition of The Name of the Wind was a mass market one that I read. I literally read it like this because I was so terrified of cracking the spines. So this is a chunker of a book to read that way for that long. So I'm very excited to have a lovely, beautiful illustrated edition. Okay, and getting into the book sale. Books, this happened the week between my friend Shayna's and my birthday. So we took that as we have free reign to purchase as many books as we want when we go to the sale, because happy birthday to us. And that's what we did. So this was a very big sale in my local area, and we went on the second day, and on the second day, hardcovers are $1, paperbacks are 50 cents. You better believe we walked out with bags and bags of books. So that's what all of this is. So I'm gonna go through this in like no particular order. I don't have synopsises for all of these because they were just kind of like, oh, it's 50 cents, I will grab it. The first book I have to show you is The Red Tent, and this is by Anita Diamant. This is obviously kind of a modern classic at this point. It's now apparently a Lifetime miniseries. I think I knew that. I don't remember, but this is a book that I've always had my eye on. I've always wanted to read it. It was 50 cents, so I picked it up. Also, this is what the new mass markets look like. This is ridiculous. This is what an old mass market looked like size-wise. Now they're just like tall and skinny. It's weird. Moving on to that second book I just showed, I have Across the Face of the World by Russell Kirkpatrick. This I actually picked up at a used bookstore on that same day. We just had a book day. It was great. But this is a book that I've picked up so many times, mainly because of the cover, and the cover is also on the little spine there. But this just reminds me of Lord of the Rings, like just seeing the band of characters walk like across a landscape. So I think that's why I always picked it up. But it also says, not since Tolkien have I been so awed. It's basically gotten really, really good reviews. Sounds like an epic adult fantasy story. Sometimes you just need to pick up some chunkers. So this will be some winter heavy reading for me, and I'm very excited. I also was very excited to find a copy of I Hate My Selfie because I just talked about Shane Dawson in one of my recent videos. I love Shane Dawson. I love all of the really big YouTubers, and I've always wanted to read his books, but to be honest, I've never wanted to spend the money on them. I know, I'm cheap, but this was at the sale, so it was 50 cents, so I was like, yes. And this is just kind of like a collection of essays by him. This is the first book that he's put out. So 50 cents, you better believe I picked it up. I also was so excited to find a hardback copy of The Magician King by Lev Grossman. Y'all know I'm obsessed with the Magician series. Like, it's been years since I started discovering them and started reading them, and this is like still one of my favorite fantasy series of all time. But I have all of the paperbacks of them, so I've decided that if I find them, I would like to pick up the hardcovers. So this is the first one that I found. Also because it has a map on the end pages. The paperback does not have that. I needed this. It was $1. I also grabbed a copy of Nightmares, and this is by Jason Segel and Kristen Miller, who just recently teamed up to write Otherworld, which is a YA release. I think this is more middle grade, but this is kind of the only type of middle grade that I'll read. If it's gonna be kind of creepy, I'll read it. I'm not a huge fan of middle grade, but this one is by the two of them. I was very impressed by their writing, so I kind of wanted to grab this. Also, it was $1. but it also just sounds creepy and great. And the last middle grade I think I read was probably Doll Bones by Holly Black. It's been a while, but again, I like the creepy middle grade. They're kind of weird and messed up, and this sounds pretty similar to it. I also grabbed a copy of The Poisonwood Bible by Barbara Kingsolver. This is again another kind of modern classic that I feel like everyone has read but me, and it was $1 for a beautiful, fairly good condition hardcover, so whenever I feel the need to read this, it will be on my shelf waiting for me. Picked up a copy of Americana. This has won so many awards and is on so many lists to read, so again, I feel like this is about to be a modern classic. So, for 50 cents, it is going to be on my shelf when I feel the need. A random nonfiction book that I picked up is called Pharmacology, and this is obviously like an old library book, but hello, it was 50 cents. This is the type of nonfiction that I read. It's stuff that's very interesting to me. It's basically connecting the concept of like natural agriculture to our health, as in like, is there a connection between the health of the soil to the health of our bodies based on the food that grows in different levels of nutrition in the soil to the point where we consume it. Kind of that whole concept of whether or not like playing in the dirt is healthy for you, basically. And stuff like this is very interesting to me, so I grabbed it for 50 cents. I'm gonna say that 5,000 times in this video, but hello, it was 50 cents for books. I'm gonna pick up everything at that point, so this was one that I picked up. I also picked up a copy of My Name is Memory by Anne Brashears. Anne Brashears wrote the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants series, which I adored when I was younger. I actually read these when I was a young teen, like back when they came out, loved them, and I actually went back and reread them because I never finished the series, so I reread them a few years ago, like in my 20s. Those books got dark. Definitely like went down a darker road than I was expecting, so I was pretty impressed by her writing and how it evolved over the years. So this one, I don't know much about it, but it's one of her newer books and I've seen it around a lot, so I wanted to read it. I picked up a copy of Monster by Frank Peretti because the cover, I guess, I don't know, it seemed cool. Frank Peretti, I believe, writes mostly horror stories, but I think he's technically a Christian writer, which is very intriguing to me. But he's pretty well known and well loved, so I was kind of intrigued by it, but from what I've heard, his writing is actually very good at the creep factor, so I'm intrigued by this. Again, it was $1. It will now be on my shelf for when I feel the need for some creepy books. And then I picked up the Black Jewel trilogy by Anne Bishop. So this is Daughter, I think this is the first one. Book 1 is Daughter of the Blood, Book 2 is Heir to the Shadows, and Book 3 is Queen of the Darkness. These are some old school fantasy covers, which I kind of like, and this is a series. I recently started reading Anne Bishop. I started with her Changeling series, which is more of an urban fantasy, but I really liked her writing, actually. It's very easy to read, and Anne Bishop is kind of up there with like authors you should know and have read by now if you're reading fantasy. So this is one of her most popular series. This is just the trilogy, but I know there's a bunch of spin-off novels after this, and it's also one that is very recommended to fans of Sarah J Maas if you're looking for more of an epic, more like expansive fantasy world. I'm pretty excited for this. So I grabbed these 3 for $1.50. Hello. I also picked up another trilogy that looked very interesting to me. So this is, I think the trilogy is called Rhiannon's Ride, but this is by Kate Forsyth, and book 1 is The Tower of Ravens, book 2 is The Shining City, and book 3 is The Heart of the Stars. So these 3 books just basically drew my attention because, hello, she is riding a Pegasus on the covers. Nothing is gonna draw me more towards a fantasy series than seeing some horse training stuff, and I mean, it's called Rhiannon's Ride. That's the trilogy name. She is the author of, I believe, a more famous series, The Witches of Eileenen series. That's what she's known for. These have to do with a girl training Pegasus, so I'm gonna read this. I also picked up a copy of Because You're Mine by Colleen Cobble. I've seen this cover floating around a lot recently. I think this is a fairly new release because I feel like I've seen this in Target recently, but I believe she writes mostly mystery thrillers, and I think this is also one. I don't know. It was a familiar cover. It was 50 cents. It went in my bag. I grabbed a copy of The Warrior Heir by Cinda Williams Chima because this is one of like the main fantasy series that's been out forever in the YA world. Everyone says that it's really good, it's a very good series. Also, I've been interested in her new spin-off series from this, but I'm pretty sure you had to have read this to read the new series. So that's what I'm doing by getting the first one. I picked up, I believe this is technically a non-fiction book, but it's called Ghost Boy by Martin Pistorius. And the little tagline says, "The miraculous escape of a misdiagnosed boy trapped inside his own body." And I believe this actually follows, like, the author's real life. And I think he got misdiagnosed and he basically was completely conscious but trapped inside his unresponsive body for years. It sounds really disturbing and terrifying, the fact that this is a true story, so you know little me is gonna read this a lot. So I was pretty excited to find this. Also, finally got a copy of Quiet by Susan Cain. I listened to this last year and it changed my life. This is the coolest nonfiction story. She has a TED Talk. If you're interested about this, definitely look up the TED Talk by Susan Cain. It's called, I believe, The Power of Introverts, and it basically kind of breaks down the, like, stigma following how introverts work in a world that is designed for extroverts, when over a third of the population are introverts and we don't function well in groups of people. This was the most eye-opening thing that I've read in a very long time, and I recommend it to so many people. So I wanted to actually have a physical copy, and it was at the sale, so I was very excited to find it. I also picked up a copy of 7 Years to Sin by Sylvia Day because a girl needs some smut in her life. I think that this is a book following the Crossfire series, which I read back in the day, and you know, sometimes you just need some sex in your literature. That's what this is. Same with this one. 50 Cents, called The Submissive by Terasumi. Is that not the greatest erotica pen name you've ever heard? But this'll be there for days that you just need some smut in your life. It happens, ladies. I also grabbed The God of Small Things by Arundhati Roy. I have heard this. I've heard the title, I've seen the cover a lot. It has won the Booker Prize, so I'm gonna take that to mean good stuff. Do I know anything about it? No. But this is gonna go along with all of those other books that are seemingly new modern classics that will sit on my shelf for when I'm feeling intelligent and would like to read something wholesome. Also picked up Riding Lessons, and this is by Sarah Gruen. This is actually the author of Water for Elephants, which I still have not read. Again, I probably should do that, but as a horse person, I feel like I should read this because it's a well-known author writing about horses. Is she an actual horse person? I don't know, so I will either judge it extremely harshly or appreciate all of the accurate horse information, depending on which way it goes. And then I got 3 very large books. Thanks, Shayna, my friend who went with me. This is one of her favorite fantasy series that she's been trying to get me to read forever. So this is books, I think 2, 3, and 4 of the Green Rider series by Kristen Britton. So I don't know what order they go in, but this is First Rider's Call, Black Veil, and what is this one? The High King's Tomb. Did I find book 1 there? No. So I'm gonna need to find book 1 at some point in time. But she loves the series. She says there's a lot of horse stuff in it, so I will probably appreciate it. Also, the series is like 5 million books long. Why did I get these? Because they were $1. Another book that was recommended by Shayna was Santa Olivia, and this is by Jacqueline Carey. Jacqueline Carey wrote the Phaedra's trilogy, like Kashiel's Dart, which is one of the most recommended fantasy series to me, and I have the first one of that I'm very excited to get to, but this is another one by her. This is like a completely different series, and it's closer to YA, so maybe it's a good introduction to the author for me. I don't know, but it was 50 cents, so it went in my bag. And then I think the last book that I have to show you is one that I got at a used bookstore, which I have mixed feelings about this, but let me show you. It is an Arc of the Magicians. Yeah. I lost my mind when I picked it up off the shelf. I basically saw the spine and was like, oh, that's weird. I've never seen like a trade paper version of The Magicians, like a really tall one. That's because this is an arc of it. So I have mixed feelings about this because you're not technically supposed to sell arcs, like that's kind of illegal, but I don't think the used bookstore knew this, and you better believe I wasn't gonna let it sit on the shelf, so I purchased it. I'm very excited to have this in my collection, and that is going to be it. That's everything. I know this video is ridiculously long. I tried to keep it short. I tried to not give synopsises for everything. So that's gonna be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching me haul a lot of ridiculous fantasy books that I got for 50 cents. I'm very excited about it. Do I have room for any of these books on my shelf? No, they're probably gonna continue to sit in a pile on the floor until I make room on my shelf for this. But I had a good day. I think I spent like $14 that day for all of these books. It was an exciting day for me. I figured I would share it with you. Okay, so that's gonna be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. I'm gonna go and try and find room for these on my shelf. I'll see you in the next video.